Welcome back. It took us several months to do it, but we're really excited to be back with Critical Conversations from JLN. We have, I mean, we got a big one. We got a big guest tonight. I'm impressed that he's able to keep going. This will be his fourth uh, broadcast today so far. Um, so we have David Rhodes. David Rhodes is the new editor of Fire Engineering. And what's your title for the FDIC?
Education director.
All right. Now, do
Yep.
you have, in addition to the fire engineering, did you inherit all the other magazines as well?
Not directly. I do have Firefighter Nation, but we did hire, it was kind of right as I came to work for Bobby, in an SME role for fire engineering. We also hired a person for gyms, and
Okay.
we've actually promoted that person to editor in chief of gyms. And then we got the famous OP Chris McClune for fire apparatus and equipment. So we're all in the same group, but I don't
Okay.
directly supervise them. I do supervise the web team that does everything, but they all kind of work dotted lines to their respective editor in chiefs. So it's a lot,
It's crazy. I don't know how,
and we got books. I have books too.
yeah.
So
And that, matter of fact, he may be here. There's a young training officer in Middletown that's writing a book. South District Middletown that's writing a book. I'd like to send you some of his stuff. He's really good.
cool.
But you actually you mentioned and again, this isn't going to be the Bobby Halton Memorial Show, but just to bring it around. So actually, Bobby asked you to come alongside him before as a plan for succession planning,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So and then unfortunately, obviously, that was cut short.
Yep. Of course, everybody knows Bobby knows how much he liked to laugh and stuff. So my running joke is that he hired me for a 3-year transition plan, and then it lasted 3 months.
That's right. And
Yeah.
then that was it.
And he was like,
Crazy.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that was a difficult time, but you're the boss. So exciting. So what's going on with the magazine? What's hot? What's new?
Man, it is wide open. This is a pretty cool month. We did a total rebrand, new logo, new look. We got the new cover. It has a little bit more of a closer dramatic image than just, the far back fire pictures, which we're not abandoning totally. There'll still be some wide shots with a lot of tower ladders and stuff. But this one thing is kind of like when you're doing cover shots for a fire magazine, it's kind of like the problem that they run into in the movies and the TV shows. It's like you don't have a whole lot of interior firefighting pictures.
Right.
You have a few, but even if you do have them, it's fire and that's about it. You don't really see the action. So we're just looking at some different stuff, trying to mock up the covers, get them a little more visual imagery that it's just an updated look. And then we totally updated the inside. A little more white space, a little easier font. And again, it's not that we didn't like what we had. It was just, 15 years. It's time for
It's time.
time for an update. So got a lot of good positive feedback. The kid that's on the cover this month called me a couple of days ago and was like, "Hey, can I buy a couple more copies?" And also I was like, "You don't have to buy them, man. You're like a star." We sent him 10
That's
copies, and um, it was kind of interesting when we got that shot. I was like, "Oh man, I want this shot for the truck month." And it's the first month with the new logo because he's a truck guy. He's coming out. He's got the two hooks, the water can. It was perfect for truck month. And so I took the picture and I sent it out to like 4 or 5 FDNY guys. And I'm like, anybody know this guy? Like, is he okay? Because like if he's not, we can't use it. I don't want
right.
everybody to get it and go, oh, that guy.
Yeah.
So everything we got back was that he was a young, pretty new fella. Um, I think he ended up, I think he was in Brooklyn, uh, or Queens. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, I think he was in Queens. And so, um, it worked out great, man. It turned out to be this my favorite cover so far since I've been there.
It's a great shot. It's
Yeah.
a great shot. And he just looks like he's ready to go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not
Yeah.
like he's not a slouch. You can
Oh
tell
no.
it by,
No.
just by looking at him. So what'd you do on the inside? You said you changed the font?
Yeah, so it's just a little bit of a different font. There's a little more white space in there to make it cleaner looking. Move some stuff around. The first for years, the volunteer corner was the very first article, and just talking to our board and looking at how we did things. We were like, look, our primary focus is training. So why do we not lead off with the training notebook? And so we
Yeah.
just flipped those two. That was a simple little shift, but same departments. Obviously, we're always after new authors. We love the incident reports, where people write us up lessons learned from actual incidents and send us in great pictures. So we're still looking for those all the time. And then we kept the regular departments, and March and April are typically the biggest issues leading up to FDIC. Of course, there's a lot of advertisers, so there's a lot of space. So, you know, April's probably twice as thick
Right.
as a June, July, August magazine. It just a lot of people don't understand that's all controlled by the number of ads that are in the magazine. So the magazine's not the exact same size every month. It's a formula based off of ad sales. So
Right.
you have to be adaptable, you know, with it. But thank goodness, in the modern era, we're still able to keep the print alive. It's still doing well, and there's no plans to do away with it. We are enhancing our digital side quite a bit, but we're still putting the resources, marketing time, and all the effort into the print as well.
This thing with Sports Illustrated is mind numbing.
Yeah.
Where we had a magazine that was a weekly magazine, that and had talk about brand, talk
Hmm.
about brand acknowledgement and recognition. And
Everybody
then
knows the logo.
I found out I listened to News Radio 88 from New York, being in Connecticut, and I find out they were only doing one a month, and they were getting ready. They fired or let go like 90% of their staff, but I guess they just cut another deal with another uh brand that they're going to stay around for 10 more years, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's
No,
crazy. I mean, the industry can change overnight, and nobody wants it to happen, but really, it's it's really driven by the ads. So if people quit buying the ads, then it goes away or becomes something different. So
yeah. One of the things that I always liked about the magazine was or the with the as time changed, let me back up. You gave young writers or new writers, not young writers, new writers an opportunity to produce something. Now, maybe it didn't make it onto the into the magazine, but it made it on the electronic side.
mhm.
And I know of a couple people that were actually regular contributors to the electronic side. And then, then they say, well, you know what, maybe I'll try submitting something for the magazine.
Mhm.
I don't think everybody understands how important new writers, new contribute people to contribute to the magazine is. Just like this year we had a banner year for applications to present at the FDIC, I think.
Yeah.
But just write something. That was one of the things that um, Diane had told me, and I don't even remember how even the conversation started. She said, "Just write something, do something."
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. It was PJ Norwood.
Mhm.
PJ Norwood said, "You got to write something. You got to do a podcast. You got to get on a podcast. You just have to contribute. And once it's going to go or not go,
Right.
right? But if you don't try, how do you know?"
Yeah, that's what we want to see. We want to see, one, teaching at FDIC is definitely not an entitlement for anybody, and there's a massive process. Um, you know, it's it's almost like making it in the music business, I guess. It's like, you go to Nashville and everybody in every bar is phenomenal talent, but only one out of 20,000 of them are ever going to have a song on the radio, if even that. I don't know the exact stats, but like um we got over 1,000 um 1,009 presentation submissions this year for classes, and it's tough. Your board goes through them. There's a rating process, but then there's also like we want to present a lot of different topics. So maybe there were 30 phenomenal topics on engine company
Right.
operations, but we only had room for 4 or 5, because we had to do this many of the other. And there's no secret formula. It kind of just, we try to keep it balanced to have a good diverse pool of topics. But you could submit 10 times in a row and it be an awesome submission and it not get selected, not because it wasn't awesome, but just because we didn't have the room. And then to
That's
increase your
great.
chances, then that's when we tell folks, look, like write an article, get on one of the radio shows, do a podcast, um, like kind of establish yourself within the brand, because it is a brand, it is a business. And if you're contributing, then like, we know who you are, versus you're a name on a sheet with a resume that we look at, of course. But obviously, if you're doing a lot for us, it's going to increase your chances. Never guarantees you, because
Right.
I've had to make
No,
that call several times, especially doing the hot over the last 20 plus years. Really good friends that for whatever reason, you needed a different class, you needed something new, or maybe their numbers weren't what they once were, and they're really good friends, and you have to be like, "Hey, man, sorry, we're not doing your class this year," and obviously they're going to be upset. But that's the thing, man. It's always always compare it. It's like the Pony Express. You know, it was the most awesome thing for a while, but something came along and replaced it, and you gotta adapt and move into whatever the new space is. We hold
well,
on to as much as we can, but
that happened to me. I did not get selected this year first, right? And you know what? I had several friends, uh, great great instructors that had been at FDIC several times. And you know what? I got notes from them saying, "Listen, that you know what? I did. As a matter of fact, they compliment when other folks said I didn't get in. They came on and said, "Listen, that happened to me a couple years. Just keep writing and keep trying, and there'll be that magic that'll happen." And I came off. So I came off the bench this year. I was out, and then I guess what it sounds like now is someone in my genre maybe couldn't make it or backed out or whatever. And so I got a email from Diane, and I'm like, yeah,
you were
no
in the
problem.
bullpen.
Huh?
You were in the bullpen.
I'm in the bullpen. That's right. I said I'm coming off the bench,
Yeah.
whatever you need.
Yeah. We had a list of like 10 classes, and it's inevitable with this many moving parts. Somebody's going to be having a baby, somebody's
Yep.
going to have sickness, and obviously if somebody cancels, like now, it's too late to
Yeah, that's what
replace
I did.
somebody. But like a month or two ago, it was just sort of, okay, next person up, who's next? And boy,
Nine.
you talk, those folks are usually more excited than the original, because they've already gone through the disappointment and then weren't expecting it. So it's kind of like you get to be a day maker.
I'm feeling you. Well, my whole thing started. So I got on a podcast with PJ and Frank Ritchie, and of course Bobby came on. It was
Hmm.
a Wednesday night hump day or Wednesday hump day, and we had a fella from down in Maryland, and PJ ended up getting called away, and then Frank's computer fritzed out. So Bobby ended up doing the interview. And then right after that, like a week later, this is when we went to August. Um, right after that, he says, we've got slots. If you got something, send it in. Now that wasn't just to me. That was to that was a generic message to everybody. I'm not trying to blow my horn
Yeah.
that he called me. No, but I said, well, I'll give it a shot. I got nothing to lose, and I got it. And what a tremendous honor for me. Um, but it was just and it was a great experience and the whole thing. But I, I try to tell we got other talented folks in Connecticut here that they're in the right, they got the right mindset, they're looking at the right things, they're having the right conversations. Let's get it down on paper and send it. What's
Yeah.
the worst that could happen? They say no, thank you.
Yeah. We try to use almost everything we get in some form or fashion. And now with social media and all the various platforms, it does happen. And sometimes it may be something that's good, but it's not, we just don't need it right now.
Yeah,
And we may hold it. I mean, if you're going in print, there's a pretty long waiting list
yeah,
to get in print, unless it happens to be something that just happens to be hot, topic right now. But that print space is just so limited. And used to, I think there was a perception that it was like, okay, well, if I go to the web, that meant I wasn't good enough for the magazine.
no,
That's no longer the case. It's like there's no place for anything that's not good. There's so much good stuff that, the web side is pretty much unlimited. We're only limited to our budget of what we can pay for
right,
feature pieces. But you know, in the digital market, I mean, you can contribute a video, you can contribute a 2-minute video. Look at what Sam Hiddle has done over the last couple of months. We've been doing those little forcible entry deals where he's filming a couple camera angles and showing the video. We put that on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and then there's a link that takes you to a narrative. And it's, some of them are 30 seconds.
yeah,
So we're always in need of that kind of content. We can't always pay for every piece of it, but there's always in this business, FDIC, everything, there's this quid pro quo kind of a deal. That's like most of these people are teaching, they're doing training either locally or whatever, and they like getting that out and to be
right,
associated with the brand, because we're not just going to put anything out there. I mean, there's got to be a little vetting that goes on to make sure the person's legit and all that. But yeah, we take all kinds of submissions, videos, short pieces we can run on Facebook, LinkedIn, pieces we publish on fire engineering, and then some pretty big news coming up in May. I believe it somewhere around May 17th is a relaunch of Firefighter Nation. And so if you remember, um, so we had Fire Rescue magazine,
yep,
and I actually used to write in that quite a bit. Um, the print version of that went away, I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe. And um, and it went to all online. And then you had Firefighter Nation, which was that community where everybody had their own little community page and everybody was blogging back then. So, they weren't podcasting and stuff, they were blogging. You wrote your little opinion pieces and people commented. So we still had that, and it's been sitting there kind of untapped for a while. Sort of became our outlet for the news and all. So, with all the issues that are going on in the fire service around health, wellness, mental health, physical fitness, leadership, we're totally rebranding Firefighter Nation to really tap in to the culture of firefighting, not necessarily the training and the technical side, even though there will be some training and prescriptive type stuff on there, but health, wellness, lifestyle. And we've already started the content. If you go on there, there's about 8 features a month now, and it'll be a mental health piece. There'll be something on physical fitness. There'll be something on nutrition. It may be a cooking show. It may be recipes.
I may
It
have to
may
jump on.
be a leadership article, but we're filling up those spaces, and the website is getting a total redesign and a new logo. And so that'll be launching, about a month after FDIC, and it'll be dedicated to those subjects. And we're really looking for, young writers for that. We don't want it to be fire engineering light. We want it to be totally different than fire engineering. So we're looking for, I mean, there's no age requirement. You're gonna see folks that you're familiar with on there. Like we just did a piece from Mike Galliano and Ann on relationships, but we've got a piece coming from Keely Stewart, who's doing a thing. She's has a degree in psychology. She's a therapist. She just recently got her PhD, and she's um, a blended family, two families, both had kids. And
Yep.
so she's doing a whole thing on like raising kids in a firefighter's house.
Mm.
She's not a firefighter, but she's married to a firefighter. We got another one coming from um, a couple of the younger folks. We got Blake Stinnett, who just did an article. He runs that Next Rung Foundation, which he just, is his calling. He's a firefighter, but his calling is to raise money to help send people to get help for whatever their problem is,
Yeah.
whether it's drugs, mental issues, whatever. So he just did one about taking care of each other, being a friend to somebody at the station. So we got a lot of that this coming up. Corley Moore, his wife, just did one. It'll be coming out in May, I believe. So we're looking, if somebody's interested in contributing to that, we're looking, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Um, I've got the mustache salt guy. He's going to do a piece on mustaches. So we want it to be fun. We want it to be informative. But
I
that's
like
what I'm
the
looking at. When you think of the fire department t-shirt or the patch, the logo of your station, the motto, we want to pull that into that website and that brand. And there can be just everyday conversations on there, um, to bring that community sense back. So
I two of the best, without a doubt, best shows we did is 2 years ago at FDIC. I did a show with the cancer folks, and the I think he was the treasurer at the time, Joe. It was one of the most for me, it was a very emotional, very serious
mhm,
um program, and we got tremendous feedback on it.
right.
The other one was we had the guys on from Fire Department Coffee.
Yeah.
And Jason's all about
Yeah.
he's is all about mental health and cancer and the whole thing. So I think those are just two great issues. I like the idea. So it's not breaking glass and or the what you just talked about is not necessarily about breaking glass and stretching lines and throwing letters, but more about like sitting around the coffee table at 2 o'clock in the morning with one of your best
Kitchen
buddies
table. Yep.
trying to get through something.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
just started a peer support. One of the things I do here is I'm a chaplain, and
Mhm.
I didn't start it at all. I attended a meeting, and they came and did their spiel, and then I talked to them a little bit, so I'm helping them out. But there's just so much. I think there's always been so much stuff, but now we care, not say care, now we recognize it, and we
Mhm.
try to come up with tactics that we can understand and do to help our brothers and sisters out. And in the past, I can remember being taken out for beers after a line of duty death. I can remember, whatever we did back then to try to
Mhm.
handle it. Can't necessarily do that now. It's not
Yeah. Well,
healthy to
times,
start
yeah,
with.
it works for some people. It does, it's just like cancer, it's like there's no one thing that works for
Right.
everybody. So some people may be fine talking to a buddy. Some people may be fine talking to their family, their minister, whatever. Some may need a higher level
Yep.
of intervention, and they could all have had the exact same experience on a
Yep.
particular day, but it's your background before that that has such a big impact on how you process it. And you know, and the bigger your support network is, the easier it is for you to process it. So if you got a good, stable home life, you got a good connection to yourself, you got a good station crew, your department is supporting you, then bad calls aren't near the issue for you when you take any one of those legs out. And if you don't have that support from one of those spots, then it can become, you know, a bigger
Yep.
issue. And it's, you know, I've been working on a lot of stuff with Dina Ali lately. She got fired up after my keynote speech last year. I made the comment that it wasn't the calls that was causing the majority of people's problems. It was vindictive management, bad administrations, crappy promotional processes, isolation, not letting you contribute. And
Right.
she has run with that. So she's got a whole presentation called It's Not the Calls. And she's writing. We actually have she's got a book coming out probably in about 4 or 5 months that's addressing a lot of those issues. So I'm glad that has we've raised that level of awareness. That's like everybody's focused so much on a bad call and PTSD, but that's just like only looking at fire as the structure fire. It's like all these breakdowns had to happen before the fire. You know, all the preventative measures, the codes, the inspections, everything had to break down before that happened. If we get to the point where PTSD is an issue, then now we're treating a problem versus preventing a
Right.
problem. And it's much better to prevent it on the front end because we don't want people to have to go through that. So it's a huge issue, but I think we're just scratching the surface with it. And you're seeing a lot of health organizations specialize in public safety now, where
Used
you
to be
know,
nobody.
used to be nobody. And you would, and if you did go through your employee assistants or whatever, they couldn't relate. You
No, it's
know,
different.
they were giving you the standard old, you know, psychology 101 kind of stuff. But now you've got a lot of peer groups and a lot of blended combinations of some peer group and some specialty folks like I mentioned Keely Stewart. Um, you know, that is her specialty is public safety. And you see some that are public safety and military, but the more you dig into it, some of the things are the same, but um the public safety end of it is a specialty all in of itself.
We had so we the our community, our administration provided assistance through the HR department,
Hmm.
through a local great great group, great office. However, if you were getting divorced, if you were having financial problems, or if you were having marital problems, if you were having financial problems, even to the point where maybe your kids were acting out, you were having, but they did all that stuff great. But when it came to our world, they were, I want
Lost.
to say they're completely useless, but they were not prepared.
We
So
used to we used to mess with them when they came to our station back when I was a firefighter because you know you they had the psychological services unit and we'd go on a call, you know, body recovery, somebody be missing, they'd find them in a creek, you know, 2 weeks later, we'd have to go recover the body, come back and they'd be like, psychological services is on the way to the station to talk to you. So we would always make sure that, you know, we had a full dinner laid out. We were all sitting there eating beef, gravy, rice, and just chowing down. And then they would start asking us questions, and we would be as absolutely graphic as we could while we never missed a bite. And then they would like be like, these people are crazy. Like
They go,
we
they run
bothered
away.
them. They
They'd
needed
run away.
counseling. Yeah, they needed counseling after listening to us.
So
But
we, so
that was our therapy.
that exactly.
I mean, that was us sticking together and getting through it.
So
Nobody
we,
wanted to do it, but
yeah. So what we did is we had two. So we literally that if something came to you, I'd ask what some questions to figure out what road you're going down. And we
mhm.
had a great, we actually had a pretty good one. We thought, and then we had a suicide in our police department, and we met a whole nother guy, a whole nother office, uh, and just tremendous. And we scooped them up.
Oh, good.
We grabbed them, and we started sending our folks there. And money, I didn't care about the difference. The costs were about the same, but dramatically better apples and oranges,
Yeah, it's
just
good.
apples and oranges. And so that's how we dealt with that. Let me ask you, so what I unfortunately was by the time I got to go to FDIC, I was too old for the hot classes.
Mhm.
So how long that's been going on for how many years?
Uh, the first year I think was around 97,
Oh my
98,
God.
and it was basically it was called a Hot Tuesday. It was one day, and it was in the parking lot at the RCA Dome, and there was maybe 6 or 7 groups. I was actually supposed to be an instructor that very first year, and I got sick and was not able to go. And so I went the second year, and it was so popular the first year that they changed it to Hot Monday and Tuesday. And then they moved the class that we did out to Pike Township to their training center. We did rope rescue and confined space. And um, I've been doing it ever since. I taught for probably 3 or 4 years, uh, maybe even 5. And then the guy that I taught for was Scott Millsap. He was very close to
Yeah.
Bill Manning,
Yep.
and he obviously introduced me to Bill Manning, and uh, well, the hot team that was sort of in charge. They kind of had a falling out with Manning, and so they all left. And then Manning was like, "Okay, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket ever again. I'm going to build a team." So he had Scott Millsap, Rick Lasky, John O'Connell, Mike Nasta, and Rick Fritz. And he said, that'll be the 5 hot coordinators. And they'll take turns being in charge every year. So nobody gets too powerful. and,
That's a good idea.
and so then Scott was going to be in charge of it the first year. And so he called me and he called another guy, Brent Hollander, who we had both worked with Scott and Scott's private company, and we taught Georgia smoke divers with Scott. And so he asked me if I would help do logistics, and he asked Brent if he would do safety, and we said that we would. And the first show that we were going to execute the plan was going to be FDIC West, and I believe
Hmm.
that was 2002.
Yeah.
And Scott passed away um, in September before we did that
Oh,
show.
that's
So
terrible.
he never was in charge of it. And then Lasky went on to something else, and it ended up being John O'Connell, Rick Fritz, Mike Nasta, and Brent and I. Brent and I sort of got elevated up into the team there, and um, we're all still together, minus Rick Fritz, who unfortunately, had a medical issue years ago, and is he's okay. We still see him at FDIC now and then, but his communication is a little rough. He's not out teaching and that kind of stuff, so he's got some medical issues. So John's still there helping. Mike's still there helping. Brent is now in charge of it, And then, I've moved up to the education and editor's job. So I'm still over it, but Brent Hollander's handling the day-to-day stuff. So it's kind of interesting, 20 some odd years later, we were in on the original thing as instructors, and then now, we're running the thing. So it's kind of a cool concept. It's kind of like working your way up through the ranks, So
I
if we
was
if we make bad decisions, it's our fault because we've been in all the positions.
I
And
was
we do.
completely impressed with the number of buses loading up.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yep.
It was, and they're just lining up. There's just buses and buses and buses. Then there's more buses, and I'm like, so I said, where are they going? They're going hot. They're,
Yep.
they're on their way. So, be you
Yeah.
still just do you start on Monday, right? You still do Monday,
hmm
Tuesday, or is
It's
it Monday, Tuesday,
pre-conference.
Wednesday?
No, it's Monday, Tuesday right now. So it's before the conference starts. So they
Right.
call it a pre-conference. And we've had as many as 30 classes before. We've trimmed it a little bit. We're trying to find the perfect number. We're at 20 right now.
And
And
there's like 20, 30 students, right, in each group?
55 students in
In
each
each group?
class. Yeah. Yeah. So, and depending on what the class is, if it's a live fire class, you'll have
Oh
around
yeah.
10 instructors, and um, the instructors can have volunteers to shadow and help, like fire stokers and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes those are local academy folks. Sometimes they bring their own folks. The non-IDLH classes will have, 5 or 6 instructors. But yeah, we ship out um, over 3,700 students to about, if we're doing 20 classes, we're usually sitting around 15 sites. And one of the sites is the Illinois Fire Service Institute. So that bus leaves at like, 6 o'clock in the morning uh, to get there, in time for an 8 o'clock start. And then they come back. It is an 8-hour class. A lot of the classes are 4 hours. So there's a lunchtime turnaround of the buses. But the whole thing's, run by a type 2 size incident management team. There's probably 70 people in logistics, counting the site supervisors and the truck drivers. Lunches are delivered on site. The instructors show up with their gear, and then everything they need to teach the classes are provided by the logistics team. And the logistics teams year round, there's Brent, and then there's 2 or 3 local guys. One who's managing our warehouse there and staying on top of all the equipment. But we have full-time warehouse there just for those 2 days of training. And we keep a lot of equipment, and we put on
Crazy.
what we call the greatest show on earth. And then we added this year, COVID put quite a hit on the conference industry, and we had to cancel that one year, and then we had a delayed August show. So we did have to cut back. We cut back from like 30 to 20 classes on that COVID year. And then last year we held it at that number. And then this year we wanted to expand, but we actually came up with a new model that we're calling a hot workshop. So we have a hot class that's 55 students. You get on a bus, you go to an academy, you're in your turnout gear. It's either live fire or forcible entry, and it's very tactics oriented, it's skill based. Um, the hot workshop concept is a combo of some classroom and some hands on, not quite as intense and not quite as just skill based, a little more theory, a little more advanced. And we're limiting those to 30 people a session. So you get a little more time with the instructor. And we picked rock stars uh, for the hot workshop. So we were able to talk Mike Champo into giving up his hot class to Sam Hiddle and moving into the hot workshop where he's doing a 4-hour tower ladders. He's doing that on Monday twice.
Is
So
that what Jimmy Duffy's doing? Is that 4 hours he's doing?
no.
No,
Mm-mm.
okay.
So there's still the regular workshops, which are 4-hour classrooms. And you may have some tabletop activities or some simulations, but the hot workshops, you're actually going to go outside and do something. So we're kind of
Okay.
going back to that original year where we did things in the parking lot. So we designed things. What can we do in the parking lot that's still valuable and good? So we got Ray McCormick in the parking deck across the street, flowing water and doing line boss leadership. So he'll do a couple hours in the classroom, then walk the class across the street and flow water. Lee Hollins doing school bus extrication. You're going to get the parts, components, and stuff in a classroom. Then you're going to walk out and cut up a bus. We've got the FDNY Tactical Training Unit who does all their live video training. They're bringing in all this, iPhones, gimbals, computers, and they're going to teach you how to live broadcast your training. So
Wow.
they're going to teach you about the equipment in the classroom. Then you're going to walk outside and you're going to teach a class and you're going to broadcast it. We've got ULFSRI is doing a 16-hour hot workshop, which they're doing their fire dynamics boot camp for train the trainer.
Yep. Yep.
They're actually building a house to burn on IFD's brand new training ground. So you got to sign up for that whole 16-hour block. They're going to have 20 instructors out there. And this is like they are investing in this to get you to where you can take this back to your department and and be an instructor and deliver this type of program in your department. Then um, we got a new guy as far as a hot instructor for us, Brandon Maurer, who's out of Wichita, Kansas.
Mm,
Works with Sam Hiddle out there, who's known
yep.
for his forcible entry and all. So they've designed some props for through the lock forcible entry. So
Nice.
where we have a hot forcible entry class where you can go out and beat the doors all to pieces and punch through them, and you can cut metal gates and all that stuff. This will be at the convention center, and it'll be Brandon Maurer with Bob and Rex Morris.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you're doing Rex's class.
Yep. So
Nice.
it'll be Bob and Rex Morris, and again, it's they're going to do it right there in Lucas Oil Stadium. So it's going to be awesome. So we're trying that out, and I'll tell you, it's like it just ceases to amaze me. Like I said, there's about 3,700 spots for hot, and there's only 42 left right
That's great.
now, and we're a month out. There's about 60 spots left in the hot workshops. They're just about gone. So it's going great. And so we got the 20 hot classes, the 7 hot workshops. We've got 58 4-hour workshops. So there's
That's
plenty
what
of things
that's what
to do.
Stuffy's doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And then that's Monday, Tuesday. And then, of course, we got opening ceremonies Wednesday. We've shaved off 30 minutes to each session, 2 hours. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot of time to sit there. Um, so we shaved it down to an hour and a half each day. And we've got Scott Thompson delivering the keynote on Wednesday, Jason Hubbleman on Thursday. Then, still doing the LODD tribute. Dr. Lori Moore Morrell is going to update everybody on U.S. Fire Administration stuff. I'll have my talk on Wednesday, and then we've got 200. Let's see, what's our number? It's over 200 classroom sessions.
Now,
Two,
when we
206.
when I talk about 35,000 people coming to the show,
37 this year, we hope.
oh, excuse me. Yeah, but is that includes the fire show too, right?
Yeah,
Or is that
that's
just class?
everything. That's
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 everything.
everybody that is registered for the
Anything.
show. So that's the
Okay.
exhibitors, the people who are taking training. It's everybody that registers to be a part of the show. So yeah, we're expecting our numbers are slightly ahead of last year already, and we usually have a big spike right here at the end of
Yeah.
it is firefighters, so everybody waits the last minute, even though there's early bird specials and
Yeah.
so forth. So the numbers just keep going up, and we think we're going to pop to 3,700.
So we talked about during August. Uh-oh. What? My computer loves to talk to me and send me. Oh
Uh,
boy. Hang on, I got to get rid of something. Here we go. Um, Now during the summer when we had summer school, the numbers dropped a little bit that there,
mhm.
but the next year they came right back.
Yeah, yeah. It
You
was
know?
tough because both of those were in the same budget year. So like, for a lot of departments, that was
Yeah.
tough. So, we were very, very close to the record last year. We didn't quite make it, but for a COVID recovery, we were
Yeah.
right there at it. So that's why we think this year we're gonna bust it out. And
Now,
there's some other stuff going on too that's new. The Tall Buildings Conference, this first time ever held in the U.S. It's co-located um, with us this year, so that's going to be something that's brand new. It's its own event, but it's inside, ICC co-located with us, and we're partnered with
are those
them.
are those the wooden buildings? This
No,
concept to go back to wooden buildings, tall?
no, this is anything to do with a high-rise building, whether it's a
Okay.
building system, whether it's firefighting tactics for it. And this conference has only been held in Europe and a couple other places around the world, but it's a group out of Europe that puts that together. So that's a big one. Um, we're bringing an ARF group, the ARF group back. They were with us a long time ago. I mean, like, I don't know, 15, 17 years ago. And part of their group is coming back. This one is the smaller airport focus. So the ARF group is coming back, and Indianapolis is building a brand new ARF training facility that'll be, I can't ever remember the classifications, but whatever the top airport classification is. So we're hoping to build that into its own conference and hands-on training where you can get your ARF
Mm.
certification burn in while you're at FDIC. That'll be a couple years down the road, but that's in the works. We've got the Metro Chiefs there. We've got the GYMS
They're
Innovation
still going to be
Summit.
there, right? Yeah.
Yep, which is the medical directors. It's paramedics, EMTs, anybody that does anything with the medical service.
Are they still having their competition
hmm
like they
That
did last
it's
year?
changed some, so it's moved from the big room to Lucas Oil Stadium, and instead of just being the gyms games, now it's actually the gyms clinical competition. So there's a lot of phases to it, and then there's still the big finale scenario. But they're building a stage in Lucas Oil Stadium, so you'll actually be able to sit in the football seats and watch the gyms competition.
Did you
Um,
have you guys brought back the military fire folks?
mhm.
Right?
Yep,
Are they
both the Army and the DoD and the Air Force Reserve fire chiefs are all with us. The Air Force Reserves are doing their yearly 40-hour training, so they have a meeting on site all week. The DoD and the Army, I think they both meet Friday,
but
but
did
they're
you get
both
the
with us.
we used to see we're a submarine community, so we used to see the Navy guys there every year too.
I guess some of them probably were with the DoD, but
Yes.
I'm not.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. And then we've got Women in Fire. I don't know how many years they've been with us now. I'm gonna guess we're probably kicking around 7, maybe, that they've co-located their leadership conference with us. So they have a whole team of speakers that are coming in for their conference, and they're co-located. They're also going to be doing some teaching, which I'll go into in a minute. We've got the cadaver lab. We've got a couple of EMS classes that are interesting. We have one on canine medicine. Um, that's um, like a pre-con type workshop
Yep, yep,
that
yep.
is going to be there. We've gotten every class, whether you're doing a search and rescue class or you're doing a workshop that talks about patient removal, stabilization. We've gotten every class that we could possibly get CAPC accredited, approved, so that
Nice.
you can get your EMT recert hours. And that'll simply be done by scanning a barcode. Of course, you got to scan into the class,
Yeah,
make sure
yeah.
you're there, and then they'll give you a barcode at the end of the class that you'll just scan and it'll upload your hours for you. Much better than sitting there on the computer trying to
Absolutely.
cram them in at the last minute. So,
Nope,
and then some of
absolutely.
the hot classes are approved. Some of the 4 and 8 hour hot classes have approval for that too. So you can get a lot of CAPSIA hours in. Uh, and then we have the Lucas Oil Experience, which is brand new. So, listening to our audience and getting feedback, a lot of people are like, we like the fire station of the future. It was cool. But we actually want to do stuff. And so we've taken the entire football field and the perimeter of the football field in the very center is all interactive. So we've got an EMS section and there's clinical stations in there. So you'll be able to learn how to do field level ultrasounds, and you're actually going to be doing these. So
No kidding.
you go into the area and you get a little briefing, and then they put the equipment in your hand, and they either have somebody sitting there or a training mannequin, whatever it is, and you're going to be doing it. And they've got airway management. The list is long. Then there's virtual reality rooms where you go in, put on the goggles, and you might be working on patients at a subway triage incident. Um, there's a communication command and control area that is going to have all kinds of just top-notch technology, how to track your personnel on the scene, how to use cell phones, how to use all these other electronic assets. That's there. There's a health and wellness area. Not only will there be health and wellness type vendors there, they'll also be doing first responder yoga. They'll be doing other workouts at different times of the day to teach you different techniques and different things specific to our profession. And then in the center is what we're calling the drill yard. So we actually have teamed up with Bullex Lion, and they built us a digital burn building that is a full container. And they use their digital fire panels, smoke machines. It's also can serve as a confined space simulator. And so Women in Fire will be teaching a class there. Like you can sign up. They'll put gear on you if you want gear. We'll have air packs, and they're going to be doing hose management, fire attack in the burn building. We've got ISFSI doing a 1403 building prep class on the building, how to
Nice.
do your walkthroughs, and then they're going to do a scenario. We've got forcible entry props. So East Coast Rescue will be doing defeating drop bars, defeating regular locks. We've got Advanced Rescue is going to be doing some confined space. They're going to be doing vehicle stabilization. In the drill yard is also a rescue zone where we have an electric vehicle, standard domestic vehicle, and then we have a vehicle from West Virginia University that's a hybrid cutaway that's drivable, but they took half the car and cut the skin off and then encased it in plexiglass. So you
No
can
kids.
see all the components of the hybrid car. And so they're going to be teaching response to hybrid vehicles. We'll have response to electric vehicles, and then we'll have vehicle stabilization. So from Thursday through Saturday, it's like the show hasn't stopped. Uh, it's not as intense as getting on the bus and going into an IDLH
Hmm.
live fire, but we're trying to extend the training and the education all the way into the exhibit show and give people who either couldn't come or didn't have the resources. These are free interactive training sessions that all you have to do is just sign up for them and go participate. So it's very immersive, hands-on like experience over there in Lucas Oil, along with there's vendors over there also.
Right. I think one of the things though is always it's a hike,
Yeah,
right? It's a hike to get from the main show out to Lucas. Uh, but it was always worth going out there because it was besides the thing for the fallen firefighters and all that.
stair climb. Yeah.
Yeah, there was always something good out there, but I think this is exciting because it was still a little heartbreaking. It's a big place. Now I remember in the past that's where all the trucks were,
Hmm.
right? Before we moved them inside.
Yep.
So, but it was a little discouraging that half of that space was just kind of not used. That's
Yep.
exciting that you're
It's
not.
full now.
That's right. You're not leaving anything on the table.
Yeah, it's full. Our exhibitor numbers are as high as they've ever been. So you're gonna, um, when you leave that corridor, um, where the exhibit hall is,
Yep.
the side corridor, and you make that right hand turn and you're starting that long walk.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
we've redesignated that area. That's now called Firefighter Row. And there's about 20 different firefighter owned companies
Oh, that's awesome.
that are lined up in that space. One of them happens to be the guy I was talking about earlier, Blake with Next Rung. So, you've got the fastboard guys are there.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
guys that make leather straps. There's
Oh, so you
the
so you put
AWOGS
them you
guy.
put them all together rather than having to go find them on this wing and that
Well,
wing.
they're it's not all. I mean, there's other firefighter owned companies within the show, but these guys had kind of already slowly taken the majority of that area anyway. And they came to us with the idea, and I guess they probably have pitched it a couple of years, and it finally took hold. And it's actually going to be branded that it's Firefighter Row, and then there'll be a designation on the app for any firefighter owned business that'll be listed as a firefighter owned business, because there's a lot of them, so that'll be like 20 on that road, but there may be another 20 or 30 throughout the
Are
regular
they
exhibit floor too.
if you can let the cat out of the bag early and share, will the Getting Salty boys be over there or back where they normally are?
No, they'll be in their normal spot. They'll be in their
Okay.
normal spot.
I
Yeah.
got to know where to go. See my
Yeah.
buddies.
Yeah, they'll be in their normal spot. So yeah, you'll walk down that row. There's a couple of um beer raffle events that happen in that corridor for fundraisers that those guys do to help raise money for Next Rung. And then you'll walk down that corridor, and there's still exhibits all the way down till you get to the long tunnel um, and then into Lucas Oil. And then the outdoor area is still there. The
Yep.
outdoor demo area, the heat event will still be taking place. The combat challenge um, will be going on. It's a day earlier this year. I believe it may start on Tuesday this year. Some of their prelims. I don't know when the finals are, but it's moved up a little bit. And there's just, the hotels are packed with all the
Hmm.
breakout events. Like I said, the ARF group, the Metro Chiefs, the gyms,
Does the
Innovation Summit.
does the fallen firefighters have another comedy show or something going on? Do you know?
Yeah. So we got Stop Drop Rock and Roll will be
Yep.
Thursday night. We still have what's now the Bobby Halton 5K cancer run
Yep.
is Thursday right after the show closes. So you have the run, then you've got the NFFF. Yeah, I think we still got the MSA block party. You
How
got the
about
Fools Bash.
the cancer folks? Do they still have their deal?
The cancer folks now manage the run.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I
So
forgot.
they do that. The comedy show doesn't go on anymore.
That's right.
Then we got the stair climb Friday. We'll have, in addition to the drill yard, there's also a park inside Lucas Oil Stadium. A lot of high top tables, trees, a stage, and teamed up with the Fire Nuggets guys that were really close to Andy Fredericks. And
Yeah.
so, right before the stair climb, they're going to deliver sort of a TED Talk type format where a couple of them are going to talk about, the works of Andy Fredericks. And we have the official Andy Fredericks book from Fire Engineering teamed up with Fire Nuggets is actually printed and will be available at FDIC, along with a new classic that Diane and I put together that I know your generation will love as much as many of us is the the collection Bruno's Unplugged, with a very special cover and a very special introduction from Mrs. Smith.
Oh,
So it's going to be pretty cool.
that was just that
You
was
got
another thing I wasn't prepared for, and just poked you in the eye. I mean
yeah,
that
yeah,
that guy would. So I was at the FDIC, and I come down from the hotel to have breakfast. There's Bruno. Hey, how you doing? Good, good. You want to sit here? Sure. And
he was unreal.
we just had this great, and we had him out to Connecticut back when he was younger, and he brought he brought a couple of his, at that point they would be probably battalion chiefs, and he came out and did a thing for our state pub ed association, and I spent hours with him sitting on our butts in the hallways when he wasn't on, just talking about all kinds of stuff. He was just great that way. And the same thing.
Yeah.
So we ran into each other at this, at breakfast, and we sat down, and it was like somebody I had grown up with. You know what I
I
mean?
uh
Just great. Just
I had heard him speak a few times, and I had actually introduced myself to him at, can't remember where it was. I guess it was probably the Redmond.
yeah. Yep.
Uh, I can't remember if that was actually it or not. But anyway, I'd talked to him and all, but it's he can't remember everybody, so it wasn't long after that we were, when the NFPA 1001 standard was kind of under scrutiny for ADA, and the union and the fire chiefs were pushing the CPAT and all. So we were I was the union president in Atlanta. I was trying to get CPAT adopted by Georgia. And of course, Georgia's not a union state, not a collective bargaining state, but most of the metros have a IFF chapter. We used to call it collective begging. So anyway, we wanted to push that, and we had the support of the IAFF. CPAT was new. Phoenix was one of the pilot
Yep.
12. And so Harold was the president, and what was the health and safety guy's name?
I can see
Duffy.
it.
Duffy.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Not Jim Duffy, but
No, the other, no, the IFF.
uh, yeah. So Sean,
Yes.
Sean Duffy. So I was talking to Sean, and he's like, you got to convince the fire chiefs, and you're not a big union state. They're not going to listen to us. They're not going to listen to you. We need somebody like Bruno to come in and talk about CPAP. So we held this freaking event, man. It was probably 400 people. They shipped in CPAT. We set it up. We had Bruno come in. We had two attorneys from the U.S. Department of Civil Rights come in and talk. And we invited every freaking group in the world out there. And it was at our Metro Union Hall, which we had a huge facility at the time. We had bought an old Elks Lodge that had a swimming pool, and it was the old bingo bar.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
redone it into this Union Hall, and we brought all those people in. Well, I went and picked Bruno up at the airport, and I'm gonna guess that was probably around 98, 99, somewhere in that
Yep.
era. Maybe, yeah, it was right in there, maybe 2000 at the latest. And I'll tell you what, from the time I picked him up at the airport until he died, like anytime I saw him, I could pick up the phone. I had his cell number.
Yep.
I went to visit him. He had me come speak in Phoenix numerous times. Um, the guy would do anything, but I picked him up, took him to eat, and it's like you said, he was the most
Just
humble, uh, easiest guy to talk to. He was your dad, your granddad, your
yep.
buddy. He could fill any role. He's a great listener, and I can't tell you how much advice I got from the guy. And
He had a
it was a tragedy.
he had a quick wit too.
Oh,
So I got to
unbelievable.
go out to the change conference. I stayed I stayed in Battalion 2. This is right after Brett died. And I stayed at Battalion 2, and the guy that was a battalion chief that night, eventually went on to become move out. He authored, he was the main driver for the report on when
Hmm.
Brett died. So we're like up to 1 o'clock in the morning, which is like 3 o'clock in the morning out here. But anyway, I go to this conference, and I'm gonna poke him a little bit. So I walk up, and I got all these wonderful or appetizers, hors d'oeuvres, whatever, snacks for the coffee break or whatever. I go, Chief, how are we going to lose weight with all this good stuff? He goes, you came to the wrong conference.
So ironically, I was actually with him when he got the call about Tarver. He was
Oh,
he was
really?
out here in the metro area, and yeah, it was not good. I mean, he was crying on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When they recognized him, it might have been at the F, where they recognized Brett somewhere, and I can't remember where it was. He actually had a tie on and a white shirt.
Hmm.
So I said to him afterwards, because he was kind of. I said, I see you got dressed up. He goes, the guy died. What do
Yeah.
you know? But
I,
no,
he told a great. I mean, he's got so many great stories, but one of my favorite was, especially since a lot of people know me from the T-shirt management article. He uh he said he had a chief of the London Fire Brigade doing a tour, and they had like the military sweater and all
yeah,
the
yeah,
stuff, and of course
woolly.
Bruno's got his Hawaiian shirt on and stuff, and they're at one of the stations, and there's guys doing training out in the back, or they may even been at the academy, I can't remember, but there's like 20 or 30 guys running around, and they're doing different stuff, and he says the guy says, Chief, so what's the difference in the chap there um with the buttons on his shirt, and the other guy there in just the t-shirt, and this guy over here has got the long sleeves on. What's the difference in those? And Bruno looked at him and said, the guy with the long sleeves is cold.
That's him.
I actually made him laugh so hard that he fell out of his chair at I think it was the health symposium in Phoenix. So he asked me and Matt Mosley to come out and do our presentation that we had keynoted, I think 2000. I think we keynoted the 99 FDIC, or the 2000. And so he asked us to come out and do the same show. And it was about the Atlanta crane rescue and the Union saga with the mayor and the whole bit. We had a lot of news footage and stuff. So it was real dramatic. And so we get to a point, like we both wore our class A's for that presentation, and there was a reason we did it. So we get to the part where we're talking about uniforms, and we're kind of making fun of fire chiefs that wear suits, and they don't want to wear their class A into a cabinet meeting because all the other cabinet members feel, you know, that they're
Intimidated.
better than them or whatever. So we're like, no, you go into the cabinet meeting, you need to be the fire chief. You need to have on all your stuff. And I said, now that's in our system. I said, in Phoenix, I said, we're still trying to figure out how many hibiscus flowers equals battalion chief. and he reached for his note card that was always in his pocket, and he fell out of his chair down to one knee, and then he wrote that down. And I got him another time. You were talking about Dennis Rubin earlier. Rubin and I were out there at the Change Conference doing a presentation on labor management, how we had our partnership and what all we were doing. And so I gave the old story about Reuben. I said, Reuben came to Georgia. I said he'd never been here before. And I said, I don't know if he'd ever been in a big city. I said, I'm, driving him around Atlanta. And then I said, we get out and walk to this little place for lunch. And I said, it's like Beverly Hillbillies. He's like looking up at the tall buildings. And I'm like, you all right? He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's like, well, can you take me out like where you live? And like, I want to look at some houses and all. And I said, well, I live out in Athens, Georgia, where the University of Georgia is. So that's bulldog country out there. I don't know, you may not like it out there. So I said, we're riding around and we're looking at stuff, and he's looking. And I said, and there's the University of Georgia mascot, the bulldog, Ugga, right there on the corner with his handler. And Ugga's got his leg up in the air and he's licking himself where all dogs like to lick themselves. And I said, Reuben just looked at me and he looked at that dog and he said, Reuben looked at me and he said, man, I wish I could do that. And I said, Reuben, that dog will bite you.
So,
And Bruno, for the next 20 years, every time he saw me, he got up, he'd go, that dog will bite you. But he loved it. He loved it. Funny
we
guy.
were we were there out to FDIC, and Tommy Brennan was up talking, me and my lieutenant, my mentor, and this is when when we doing the fire department getting involved in EMS was just starting.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how none of the firefighters want to help do any EMS. He says, but he says that those same guys would carry a dog outside of a building and give him mouth to mouth, right? And then he'd say, and I know where those lips have been, and everybody starts laughing. And then he leans back and he goes, I don't know if I can say it. He leans back and he goes, if I could do that, I wouldn't have got married. Real quietly, right? And I'm like, oh my God, just lost it.
You remember the time Bruno's giving his whole customer service speech up there at the Bruno and Brennan Unplugged. And
Oh my God.
And he got finished and Brennan looked at him and goes, do you actually believe that shit?
And listen, when Tommy got here, when Tommy came to Waterbury, he had 8 inches of grievances, at least 8 inches of unsolved grievances.
What a guy.
Right? It was a terrible, terrible scenario. Within a month, he had it down to the 7 things that needed to go to arbitration.
Yeah.
That they were hard, fast, these needed to go to a board to settle, because we're not gonna, but all this other stuff, he got rid of all of it. He just talked to the local.
Yeah. Yeah. What a great guy. I mentioned it in my speech last year, but it's kind of weird. I'll probably be the end of the line of the editors and FDIC education directors that actually knew all of those people.
Yeah.
And I mean, young when I met Bruno and Tom and Bill Manning, and actually had dinner with Bill Manning just a few months ago.
Did you? How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing really good. He's doing really good. He misses it, but he's doing good.
The first time I got to go and present, so what happened was we had a hazmat call, and myself and a guy who we're actually honoring next month in our Hall of Fame. We wrote a little 1-pager. He liked that. And then we wrote, at the time I was doing smoke divers, myself and another guy were doing smoke divers at the Connecticut Fire Academy. And so he wanted to know about it. So we wrote an article, sent him some pictures. Next thing I know, we're going to FDIC. And this is before I think all the work that takes place now, right? If he wanted something, so next thing I know, me and this other kid are going to the FDIC to present, and we're like, holy shit. We didn't know, it was like, wow, this is going to be crazy. And it was for us, it was nuts because we were not at all prepared for that experience. And for us, it was a wonderful experience. We had just a great time. And that was all because of Billy. And, and, and we had numerous conversations. I loved his New York style.
Yeah,
Is
me
it that
too.
song, New York
Still,
style?
oh yeah, yeah. New York State of Mind.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Oh, that was.
yeah,
I'm glad he's doing well. Someone had said that he had popped back in for a show or something a couple years ago, but kind of like just as an observer, not
yeah.
not involved, but just wanted to like catch up with old friends.
Yep, yep, yeah. That was a good crew. Him and Peter Hodge and those guys. That's my early memories of FDIC for sure.
The first one I went to was in Cincinnati.
Yeah, me too.
That was
I think the first one I went to was 1990. I think it
so
was in 1990.
mine would have been a little bit. So I was a firefighter, and I went with my boss, one of my mentors. I can't tell you when it was. Somewhere in the 80s. We
Hmm.
went out there. That was a great city. I mean, though Indianapolis is a great city, but for Cincinnati, we only went in like 3 blocks.
Yeah, you went to the rib place, and then you went to
Yep.
what was it, Caddies or Cadillacs or there
Caddies,
was Caddies?
caddies.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We're
What was
walking
the
to
rib place called? Something barn, maybe?
what?
Was it the barn? The
What, the
red
rib
barn?
place?
Yeah. Is it
I
the
I
red
I
barn?
I don't know. I tell you what, we're with a guy from Maryland, and he's not right. He's a special ops guy who joined the firehouse, and we're walking down the street, and we don't know where we're going. And he goes, "Take a left," and we're going down this alley. And I look at my buddy. He goes, "You really?" Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I get this whiff of the barbecue sauce. And I go, "Follow that man." We ended up, it was all family style, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
You
I
want
think it seems like it was something on barn.
It was something. As a matter of fact, the one time we went to the third floor down,
Do you remember the
that was the
beer?
freakiest thing
Do you
ever.
remember the local beer?
No, no, I don't remember much about those trips.
Hootie Pole Gold.
What is it?
Hootie Pole Gold. Gold.
So, so this
I might
battle
have to
act
Google
comes,
it and see if it's still there. It just
this
popped in my mind.
this waitress comes out, and she goes, "How many orders do you want?" We said, "Can we see a menu?" She looked at us like we just swore on her mother's grave, right? She goes, "Do you want to eat tonight?" Yeah. How many orders do you want? Five. Okay, thank you. And she walks away. And we're like, what? So the ribs come out, they're holding off the sides on each side, right? It's all family style, as much as you want. Oh my God. That place was great.
Yep.
Place was crazy. That
I wonder
Caddy's
if it's
place
still
was a little
there.
bizarre,
Yeah, I remember that was like a had the Cadillacs and the
cut in
neon
half,
lights. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
All the bars were actually cars cut
Cars.
in half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I looked up
Was
on the
that in a hotel or was it
No, no, that was
it
on the
was
way to the spaghetti
okay.
shed.
Okay.
That was on that long straightaway there, going down towards the river. I think it was the river. Um, I looked at the ceiling and I counted 32 fans.
Wow.
And I said to my buddy, on the way back from dinner, we're going to stop here and see what this, and that place, the windows were pulsing at 7 o'clock at night when we walked back by. It was crazy. But back to what we're going to do. We talked about Fire Nation platform. Again, we're looking for that. Well, do you mind me asking you, let me ask you a tough question.
All right.
Um, because we talked briefly about this before the show started. Give me something that you see right now, and I think we've talked about it, some of these things with cancer and stress. Give me one of the things that is a big deal right now in the fire service. That because you're looking at it from the 5,000 foot mark. What's one of the things that you see that we're all kind of struggling with?
Well, recruitment's a huge one right now for sure. Everybody's saying, you know, uh, this model of hiring and training for 30, 40 something weeks, getting EMT, firefighter, and then guys are only staying 2, 3, 4, 5 years and
Yep.
moving on. There's a lot of cannibalism. It's like this town will offer, 10 more thousand a year and everybody jumps over there and it's the greatest
Yeah.
thing in the world. They'll hire you in at a rank. So there's a lot of competition for talent right now. And that's, the volunteer issues have had volunteers have struggled just because society's, changed. It's like that's not so much the pillar of society anymore is, serving the community like it once was. Um, there's a lot of different reasons for that. But it's definitely a big issue all over. And I think, I think that the, the model may have to change at some point to where it's something different than the traditional way we've always, done things. And another one, of course, is the supply chain and the backlog on apparatus.
Mm.
I know my old department, Atlanta, they're really suffering. They're down 12, 15 rigs a day.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and they've ordered rigs, but there's like a 3-year delivery.
So a
So
tower ladder. So up here, a tower ladder going to a metro, right? So I think, and I'm trying to think if it even has a pump on it. It has to have a pump on it, right? It's almost $1 billion.
yeah, Atlanta just ordered 5 or 6 service trucks that they're going to run as ladders when the ladders are
Kind of
out of service.
like
Like,
Bruno did
yeah.
with the
hmm
alts there.
Yeah. And it's not that they really want to go to that concept. It's that they need a vehicle to transport people
Yeah,
in
they got all
that
these
can
guys
carry
with them.
tools.
It's
Yeah.
like back in the Warriors in New York, they're all dumping into Chevy. They're putting all their stuff in the back of a Chevy station wagon,
Yep.
right? And they're
Yep.
driving the little red bubble on the top, and they're the flying squad or whatever they call
Yep.
them for that time. Thank you for the you just uh reminding me that next month we're having a metro chief, a combination chief, an all volunteer chief, and one of our advocates, and we're doing recruitment, retention, and inclusion. That's going to be next month's show. So thank you
hmm
for that.
Yep.
Uh,
Little promo there for you.
yeah, I appreciate that.
So yeah,
Uh,
those are big ones. I think that they're affecting everybody. I mean, I don't think they're any like that wasn't any kind of secret, but I think the recruitment issue is a lot bigger issue than we actually think it is.
mm,
And see it getting worse
I listen. We're trying to
unless
get
something
into this.
changes.
We're trying to get into the school system in the state of
hmm
Connecticut. Our labor laws are very strong when it comes to kids. So we have a lot of conversations going on with the State Department of Labor as to how late the kids can even stay for meetings, never mind climbing over 6 feet on a ladder. So
hmm
there's a lot of good work going on in the state to try to figure this all out. Because if we don't get them, we're very lucky. The local company, volunteer company that I belong to, we brought another high school kid in last Thursday night. We're we're very lucky. We have a very strong cadet corps right now, and they're into it. They're not that in there for for what and giggles. They're
hmm
actually they actually enjoy the training. We had a job last night. They're all there. They're all not only are they doing what they do, but one of the things they asked for was that our assistant chief take them and our sister companies juniors and walk them through the fire after we made sure, the atmosphere
hmm
was safe and stuff. So they're really into it, but we're very lucky. But again, we can only do so much. At our fire school, we're looking at our academy has a great residential program, introduction 1 and introduction 2, and that has to do more with how old you are but you go to number 1. It's a residency program for a week. you get up, you do a PT, there's a little
Hmm.
graduation demonstration ceremony, great job. And then they do it the second week as well. And then they bring back graduates to act as um, um, proctors
Hmm.
or leaders for the next generation, for the next group, right? So we're pretty lucky with that. But we've seen career folks be sent to the academy by one department and graduate with a different department's uniform on.
Hmm.
And we had at the time, that was one of the things we talked about at the career chiefs level was you got to stop cannibalizing each other. You got to figure this out. You can't keep stealing each other's people because we're never catching up.
Yeah.
We're never catching up. Many years ago, our teachers, our local school system went to Pennsylvania, and they basically hired a bunch of teachers graduating down there. They got them to relocate here, and all those people they did their whole career up here. They moved
Hmm.
up here. They grew families up here. You know, they became part of this
Well,
community.
one of the things I've heard, and even here in Atlanta, that's, I'm very fortunate. I retired 3 years ago, and I've got a defined benefit pension. So, I'm getting 80% of my, actually, I'm getting more than that now because of the raises I've gotten over the 3 years. But that was the formula. I got 80%,
Mm,
when I retired with 30 years. And so that went away in Atlanta 15
yep.
plus years ago. And so they were still having to pay into it to keep it funded, but they weren't getting anything. And then there was a hybrid where they might get 1%,
Oh my
plus they
God.
had a 401 match,
Yeah.
but
They do
there's,
the hot thing up here is defined contribution.
yeah, so they're throwing out the idea of bringing that defined benefit pension back. And I'll have to say, even as a 18-year-old, when I was looking at what I was going to do and looking at the fire service, that was one of the things that was attractive to me was that, I was kind of thinking, everybody said, hey, you need to think about your retirement and pick something.
Mhm.
And, um, I knew that I had that guaranteed retirement. And we weren't in our pension, we weren't in Social Security. So it's our, defined benefit pension that
Right,
we
right.
get. Of course, like every other firefighter, I had 20 other jobs. So I paid into Social Security too. So
Yep, yep.
hopefully I'll get a little bit of something.
Well, they it's funny you say that because we're having that conversation in this household.
No, they take it
Um,
from you. You don't get
as
much
yeah, well, you right. So there is a penalty, I guess you'd call it, that takes away from your Social Security
if
if you
you
have
have a
a pension.
defined pension. Yep.
So I have to find out if the paperwork they're sending me is based on a regular person or a person with a pension.
Mm.
But again, I think everybody goes through that. Plus, you can't tie us down. I I don't
Yeah,
know if
it's a different
and
society.
I don't know of any retired guy person. There are some. Maybe they had I have a good friend of mine who's retiring as a chief. He's been fishing, commercial fishing for years. He's had a little boat, not a little boat. He's had a boat. He's been going out and taking people out. So that's what he's going to do. I have another friend who's another fishing kind of guy. That's what he's going to do. But if you've been a teacher all your life, or if you've been whatever, it's hard to walk away from that. Maybe
Yep.
you're not able to do the job you used to do, and sometimes we get people back and we recycle them, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of knowledge there. The problem is they don't have the physical. I'll pick on myself. I don't have the physical capabilities I had, 10 years ago. Never mind 20 years ago. You know
Well,
what I mean?
we picked um, our keynoter this year. Just Scott Thompson. I picked him because he's not having recruiting problems.
Mm,
So what's the secret sauce?
yep.
He's going to talk about that a little bit. So
No, absolutely.
he's not having people leave, and he's not having trouble hiring when he advertises a spot. I mean, he's getting plenty of applications for his spots. So
So this guy that's coming on next month, he's all volunteer. Um, Again, down in New Jersey. He's got a bunkman every night. He's got duty shifts. He's got duty officers. He's got people that are off daytime that are do so he's got this very great robust system. They have fun. They do stuff. How I met him was through a line of duty death. So that it's not like they haven't had bad things happen to them, but they carry on. They manage to keep going.
Yep.
And they keep getting it done. Well,
Good deal.
it flew. We've been going for an hour and a half. And we've lost a little bit of our audience. But there was. Chief, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Now I just hope to see everybody in Indy in a couple of weeks. And if you see me, stop by and say hey.
That sounds like a plan. Um, Chief, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to be excited. I'll see you in about a month, I guess, right?
All right, man. Safe travels. We'll see you
Yep.
there.
All right. Thanks a
All right.
lot.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.